You know, every once in a while, a story comes along that forces people to rethink everything they thought they understood about power, influence, and the hidden architecture behind major corporations. And when you hear a headline like, "I sued Disney," most people think it's just another celebrity feud or some minor legal drama. But that's not what this is. This is the kind of battle that exposes how massive companies operate behind the scenes, how they use their resources to control narratives, and how quickly they can turn a small issue into a multi-billion-dollar war. And the surprising part is that sometimes the person challenging them isn't a powerless individual. Sometimes it's someone who understands the system better than they do. Someone who knows the law inside and out. Someone who isn't intimidated by size or legacy. Someone who has seen what giants look like from the inside and isn't impressed. The fascinating thing about conflict with a corporation this large is that it reveals the cracks in the foundation. Cracks that have been forming for years, cracks that employees felt, fans noticed, creators whispered about, but no one dared to confront publicly. And when someone finally does, the world watches, not just because it's entertaining, but because deep down people are curious about what happens when the script flips. When the mouse, the castle, the empire built on decades of storytelling suddenly becomes the villain in its own narrative. And for years, people assumed companies like this were untouchable. Too big to fail, too powerful to question, too connected to challenge. But the truth is that the world has changed. The internet changed it. Independent media changed it. Public accountability changed it. And the courage of individuals who refuse to be bullied into silence changed it. It's easy to forget that even the largest corporations are run by human beings. People who make mistakes, who take shortcuts, who push the boundaries of legality hoping no one notices. But someone always notices. Maybe not immediately, maybe not loudly, but someone sees what's happening, and eventually that someone decides they've had enough. And the moment they decide to fight back, the whole facade of invincibility starts cracking. What makes this particular lawsuit so fascinating is that it's not a typical copyright dispute. It's not a random person claiming their idea was stolen. It's deeper, more strategic, more calculated. And the person behind it wasn't driven by emotion, wasn't interested in headlines, and wasn't looking for fame. He was looking for something far more valuable: truth, accountability, and the exposure of a system that relies on intimidation to stay afloat. Because when a company becomes so large that it believes it can absorb any lawsuit, silence any critic, and overpower any challenger, that's exactly the moment someone needs to step forward and test that belief. The story didn't start with aggression, it didn't start with anger, it started with principle, with a sense of fairness, with the idea that no company, not even one that has shaped childhood memories for millions, should operate above the law. And when legal pressure finally came down, when documents were filed, when the media got wind of it, it shocked people. Because no one expects anyone to willingly walk into a fight with a corporation that built an empire on generations of loyalty. But sometimes loyalty is the very thing that blinds people. They forget that behind the colorful lights and magical branding lies a corporation with interests, strategies, and protective systems designed to maintain maximum control. They forget that storytelling is both an art and a business, and in business nothing stays pure for long. Not creativity, not collaboration, and definitely not ethics. The moment the lawsuit hit, insiders panicked. Public relations teams scrambled. Lawyers tightened their defenses. Executives held emergency meetings. Because they knew that if this case gained traction, if this case hit the public in the right way, it wouldn't just be a legal matter. It would be a narrative war. And narrative wars are the one thing they usually win. But this time they were facing someone who understood the game. The irony is that copyright disputes should be simple. Either something belongs to someone or it doesn't. Either it was used legally or it wasn't. But when billions of dollars are at stake, nothing is simple. Suddenly, the truth is buried under paperwork, behind NDAs, and inside closed-door negotiations, and the average person never sees what really happens. But in this case, everything began to surface. Documents, timelines, internal communications, pieces of the puzzle that reveal how big companies take advantage of small creators, assuming they will never fight back. What people don't understand is that copyright cases aren't just about ownership, they're about power. If a massive corporation can take creative material from someone and get away with it, that sets a precedent. It tells the world that originality doesn't matter, that the strongest will always win, that creativity is just fuel for corporate engines. But the moment someone challenges that idea, everything halts. because suddenly the corporation is forced to defend not just the specific case, but the entire culture it has created. And the deeper you go into this story, the more you realize this isn't just a legal battle, it's a philosophical one. It's about whether a corporation should have the right to absorb whatever ideas it wants. It's about whether creators matter. It's about whether fairness still exists in an industry dominated by billion-dollar studios. As the lawsuit unfolded, the media tried to downplay it. Not because the case wasn't strong, but because media companies rarely enjoy covering stories that challenge their own industry allies. And make no mistake, major studios are connected to major networks, and major networks are connected to major newspapers. It's one ecosystem. They protect each other. But this story couldn't be buried. Not because the media wanted to cover it, but because the public demanded to hear it. People began to question everything. If this happened once, how many times has it happened before? How many creators lost everything because they didn't have the resources to fight? How many dreams were crushed because someone believed the system was too big to challenge? And that's where the psychology of the case becomes even more interesting. When one person steps forward to fight a giant, they don't just represent themselves. They represent everyone who ever felt powerless, everyone who ever felt robbed, everyone who ever felt silenced. And that's why this case grew so fast. Because it wasn't about one man versus a company. It was about one man versus a culture that believed it would never be confronted. And the corporation underestimated the one thing they should never underestimate: resolve. Not anger, not ego, not pursuit of money, resolve. The unshakable decision that something needs to be corrected. And when someone with that mindset enters a courtroom, it changes everything. Suddenly the company can't hide behind marketing. They can't hide behind nostalgia. They can't hide behind the idea that they're too beloved to be questioned. Because the courtroom doesn't care about branding, the law doesn't care about magic, and the true TH doesn't care how big the opponent is.